All right, now let's look at something else. The productivity statistics for 2022 are out, and the statistics reflect a recovery in the economy post the arrival of COVID-19. But is it enough? It comes as the South African economy is struggling to get into higher gear, and there are concerns about the cost of living, unemployment, and the quality of work when work is available. We talk now to Productivity South Africa Chief Economist, Dr. Leroi Raputsoane. Doctor, thank you for being with us. This is really interesting because I think a lot of people don't know what you guys do. Yeah. And I first think we need to define productivity. So is that really the value added by workers, I guess, relative to their pay? How would you define it?
Yeah, productivity is basically, it measures efficiency. That is the efficiency of three factors that are used in producing output. That will be labor, capital, as well as investment, innovation, sorry. So essentially what happens is that as a producer, you actually use these three inputs to produce your output. And the more output you can actually squeeze out of these factors, the more efficient your operation.
So, of course, the more technologically advanced you become, the more productive you are. And that has been the threat to workers. So just explain, how do you go about gauging productivity in South Africa? And what sectors and what businesses do you look at exactly?
Okay. What we basically do is that we use a couple of indicators. We collect the indicators from mainly Statistics South Africa, as well as the South African Reserve Bank, some of them. And with this, we actually measure a couple of indicators, including the three measures of efficiency, which will be labor productivity, capital productivity, as well as multi-factor productivity, which is more of an innovative sort of productivity. And I think that's
and which are the sectors that are doing well? Where are the bright spots?
This year's statistics, they show a widespread improvement in all the sectors, but mainly the primary sector as well as the tertiary sector. But the secondary sector improved, but not as much as the primary and the tertiary sector.
So what is driving that? Is it technology? Is it workers becoming more efficient? Are you able to get to that level of detail?
Yeah, to some extent. But I think maybe one would want to say that we have to remember that we're coming out of the COVID-19 environment where most of the indicators were really not looking good. What we saw around 2020 was that most of the indicators dipped a lot. So that correction will actually reflect in the statistics. And obviously, I think in that time, what one saw was that there were disruptions everywhere in the economy. Consumer confidence, producer confidence, as well as the supply chains were disrupted. So there was little output being produced by the economy. But then coming out of that correction actually put us at the level where we had GDP grow by about more than 4%. And that was a huge correction. And we, at the same time, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we had a problem of lack of investment because of the uncertainty of what was going to come going forward. We didn't know what was going to happen. Everyone was afraid. So business actually cut back a lot on investment, but then they kept employees. So what we saw at that time was that there was, in the statistics, there was a reflection of lack of innovation. Like there was that lack of innovation which shows in the statistics. But then we are actually seeing that correcting a lot now. And all the indicators actually moving up, showing that we are actually going back to the production levels maybe that we had pre-COVID-19, even though one may want to argue that perhaps maybe it's too early for us to celebrate. This could be not a sustained correction.
Yeah. And like you've outlined, it's a correction or a recovery relative to COVID-19. So it doesn't mean that South Africa has become a bastion of innovation or anything like that. I mean, looking at the stats, what do you think in finality about the South African economy, about where we're going? It's often said we're not taking up technological advances quick enough, but we're concerned about workers. Where do you think it's all going? How do you think we're doing as well?
I think most of the time after every crisis, there's that normalization that happens maybe 1 or 2 years afterwards. What we see is that pre-COVID-19, the economy was already almost grinding to a halt. Only grew by 1% at that time. So if we actually hoping that it will normalize, that perhaps this is just a correction from the COVID-19 issues, then one would actually believe that maybe there's more to be done to actually sustain what we have now, which would be a little bit of a problem, because I think if you look at some of the issues that we have at the moment, like the intensification of power supply problems, a lot of other problems that one can actually, list, then what you see is that perhaps we might go back to where we were, the 1% growth, or we actually may fare really bad.
Yeah.
So, and
the predictions are now 1.9. That's what Treasury cited. So you say that could even be an overestimate, but we hope not. But very quickly, you mentioned electricity, and before we let you go, I mean, it must be crucial to productivity. The lights have to work.
Yeah, that's the truth, because when you measure productivity, most of the time you use the number of hours worked, or you can use the total number of employees. But the move has been from the number of workers used to the number of hours they work. So in the environment where you have consistent power supply problems, then you can see that you have actually less hours worked compared to. And if it intensifies over time, then that would be problematic for us going forward.
All right, thank you for unpacking this concept. It's a concept we need to understand in the numbers. Thank you very much. Productivity South Africa's Chief Economist, Dr. Leroi Raputsoane.